Hello and welcome everyone to our 2020 Axonify Fireside Chat with Dairy Farm. I'm Sudan Jeganathan, Axonify Implementation and CS Manager based in Singapore, and today we'll be talking about implementation excellence with the Dairy Farm Group, who are, as a matter of fact, partway through their multi-market implementation at the moment. So a huge thank you to the Dairy Farm team for taking time out of your schedule to join us today. Now, before I introduce you to today's participants, let me set the scene around who Dairy Farm are for those outside of the Asia region. Dairy Farm is a leading pan-Asian retailer. The group operate over 10,000 outlets and employ around 230,000 people across multiple markets. The group provides quality and value to Asian consumers by offering leading brands, a compelling retail experience, and exceptional service. The group operates grocery retail, convenience, health and beauty, and home furnishing stores, along with other retailing under well-known brands. These brands include IKEA, Welcome, Cold Storage, Giant, GNC, and 7-Eleven, to name a few. So we're super lucky to be joined by three superstars today. We have Martin Cerullo dialing in from Hong Kong, Loh Ai Lin from Malaysia, and Benedict Li from Hong Kong also. So these three have been vital to the success of launching Axonify at Dairy Farm in what has been a very challenging year in retail due to COVID, but have managed to adapt successfully to get some great early engagement wins from their deployed markets. So let's start from left to right. Martin, would you like to start by introducing yourself and what you do at Dairy Farm?
Yeah, hi everyone. Great to be here virtually today at this Fireside Chat. We're very pleased to partner with Axonify and Capability Group throughout our last several months of busyness. I'm the Group Talent Director, so responsible for talent, learning and change across the group. But I also have another role as the HR leader for our IKEA business across a number of markets. Thank you very much. Ben.
Yeah, my turn. I'm Benedict. I'm the Group Head of Learning and Development in Dairy Farm. And then I'm actually helping to implement Axonify to Dairy Farm. So I'm very, very happy to share my experience to you all.
Awesome, thanks. And Ai Lin, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Sure, thank you, Sudan. Hello, everybody. I'm Ai Lin. I'm the Head of L&D for Malaysia and Brunei. I'm really honored to be invited today to share what we've done successfully, so everybody else could then hear our stories. I work very closely with Martin and Benedict to also drive this Axonify implementation for not only Malaysia and Brunei, for across all the Dairy Farm markets.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. So just kicking straight into it, the next few slides will be shedding some light on the implementation journey to date. I'm going to try to keep this really high level so we can get into the details during the questions and answers. But essentially, we kicked off implementation in late Jan and structured a phased multi-market deployment. Our target audience was store ops and distribution centers, which was around 60,000 users. And in mid-October, we'll be rolling out to SSC audiences, which is around 6,000 users. Our plan includes 10 markets, and to date, we've rolled out to 6 markets, with Indonesia and Vietnam launching yesterday. As I've mentioned, 2020 has been a trying year for all. Even through all the ups and downs, Dairy Farm launched Axonify to help support some of the key business projects around store transformation and a unified loyalty program across their brands, for example. You know, what we saw when we rolled out Axonify was a high participation rate across the markets. This was averaging around 90% in the first week across all the markets, which is amazing. What's even more amazing is that this covers around 35,000 users in Hong Kong, Singapore, and Malaysia. And that resulted in 100% completion rate of business critical topics that were rolled out. So it's really pretty outstanding stuff. This next slide here is comparing and contrasting our first 3 markets and their related engagement numbers at the end of the first 2 weeks. So what we saw was high participation and frequency rates when compared to other observed benchmarks. So keeping in mind the volume of these users, 35,000 users or thereabouts, it's an amazing result. So kudos to the team and how you guys managed to get that large number of users engaged and participating is the kind of intel we're going to try to dig in and get out of you guys shortly. Without further ado, I want to get into the Q&As just to get into the detail of things. So let's jump out of this deck so it feels more like a conversation and everyone gets a bit of a break from hearing my voice. So to kick off, let's start with a question for Martin. Martin, what was Dairy Farm's vision for implementing Axonify?
Yeah, good starting question. I mean, we've been on a major transformation journey as a group since our new CEO, Ian McLeod, arrived in 2017. And part of that transformation is really doing a lot of work within our store network to improve what we do for our customers, how we serve our customers, the products we provide them, the quality, and so on. So for us, Axonify is a critical part of that transformation journey. And it's really, we have implemented it to enhance the learning of our team members in stores. So we enhance the capability and ultimately the offer and service to our customers. And also for us to find a different way of communicating with an audience spread across markets, geographies, islands across the Indonesian country. So it's really a great opportunity for us to connect people. I think, we as a business, have been around for 130 plus years in this region. And, perhaps compared to some of our friends and colleagues in the US and Europe and Canada, we're a little bit behind on the digitalization journey within HR, and Axonify has been a major driver for us to innovate and digitalize our team member experience. So that's another really key part, is about us making it simpler for our people, making it easier to learn, easier to connect, and investing first in our frontline team is always going to be the way we do this, which is really, again, putting them at the center of everything that we do, which perhaps has been part of that transformation journey as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that, Martin. Now, with that context and kind of digging into the implementation, how long did the implementation phase take? And how big was the internal team that managed it? I'm kind of interested to learn about how much internal resource it took to, execute this project.
Well, actually, we start this journey this year in February. And then we actually roll out in the first market, Hong Kong, in June. So it takes only 4 months from the start to the delivery. And of course, for the total implementation, we are talking about all 10 markets to be launched within this year. So this is the plan and then what we have done so far. And for the resources that we have, for the dedicated team, actually, we only have one person who are full-time dedicated to manage the project. While Eileen, Martin, and me, we are just, as a part-time because we have our own, day job that we have to complete. But then we are doing the part-time to support the team. Of course, there are other team members that are also contributing, like the HR operations, like the store change teams. They are all supporting, and as well as the communications as well. Other than that, definitely we will need the IT specialists who are helping part-time to these projects to support. So in terms of the resources, actually, there are not a lot, but then we work as a team, and then we support each other to roll this out.
Awesome. And definitely, I think, working with that team really closely, a massive shout out to you guys. You guys have done a marvelous job at getting to where you are at the moment. So may that continue. So, I mean, no secret around 2020 and the kind of year that it's been. For some of those that may not be aware, Hong Kong was not only impacted by COVID, but there was also the Hong Kong riots as well. How did that impact your implementation? With so many of these external factors, how did you manage all of these external factors while executing this massive transformational undertaking?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Hong Kong, straight after China, was the first market really touched by COVID, along with South Korea. And I remember back in January, I was working with the Axonify team to arrange our kickoff meeting in person in Hong Kong, and that didn't happen. And that was the start of many things to come. But I think for us as a business, you know, we obviously in HR have been doing a huge amount of work in parallel to ensure the safety of our team members across our markets. You know, as many of you will know, the supermarket industry has almost become the fourth emergency service throughout COVID. You know, we've had huge growth in many of our markets because people are, you know, not able to go out, so they're spending more time at home, many of our businesses. So we've had to put a huge focus on that safety and well-being of our people. So that's been quite, you know, busy on that side. But you know what, it hasn't impacted us on our implementation of Axonify, because we've ensured that we've done that, but we also know that we can't forget what's coming in the future and what we're trying to do to transform our offer to our business and our offer to our customers. So we very much, you know, we've worked virtually as a team. You know, we've obviously not seen each other. You know, Ai Lin there, we've obviously been working together for 5 years now, but we've not seen each other in 2020. We've done everything virtually. We've loved and at times hated using Teams, but it's been an important tool throughout that journey. So we've just really focused as a team and pulled together, you know, with all the people that Ben mentioned earlier. So, you know, I say it's deep pragmatism. We had some major change programs we'll talk about a little bit later, I'm sure, going on in our business. And we didn't stop those for COVID because, you know, we needed to launch our new private label to the market. We needed to launch the digital loyalty program you talked about earlier, Sudan. So we've just been very focused as a team. And I really mean that. It's the team work within this has got us to where we are today.
Awesome. And that focus has really driven like great adoption within the business of Axonify when it launched. How did you socialize Axonify with, you know, all the various stakeholders across the different brands and markets? Did you have a key strategy behind this or driving this?
Well, I think the big thing here for us, probably the underlying strategy is this is not an HR platform. It's, you know, we happen to run it, we happen to provide much of the content, but this is a business platform for team members. And I think that started very much right from the beginning, where we have absolute support and sponsorship from our group CEO, from our leadership team across the group, and obviously including our Judith, our Chief HR Officer. But we also made sure we spent a lot of time communicating, again on Teams, unfortunately not always in person, but we were, you know, one-to-one sessions with business owners, with operations directors. And throughout all of that, we were hand in hand with store change and the team leading the transformation in stores. So it felt very much it's their program supported by us rather than our program, so that was our key strategy. You know, not necessarily rocket science, but we just wanted to be seen as that team partnering with them more than anything else. And I think that's probably been one of the biggest reasons, in my opinion, aside from the teamwork, why we've landed where we have landed.
Awesome. And then I guess, Ai Lin, would love to hear from you in terms of, you were part of the core project team and working very closely with all the markets as they were deploying and the prep leading up to it. From your opinion, what were some of the biggest wins during implementation? And then I guess on the flip side of the coin, you know, what were your biggest challenges and how did you mitigate some of these challenges?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just to echo what Martin has just shared, first and foremost, it is the absolute support from all the leaders across the markets, all levels, especially in store operations, that they own this as their own tool and not seeing it as just another HR initiative. So that is really impactful to drive amazing adoption rates, all the energy and the excitement in the businesses. And of course, finally, our very successful launch of various strategic programs that's enabled by new learnings through Axonify. So like to your question, on the flip side, we must not forget this. So for us, it's mainly on the data accuracy and more of the inconsistency and as well as the Wi-Fi capability. So while we as a team transforming as a big business and we have aspiration for one dairy farm, we still have differences in the way we are structured in all the various markets across Southeast Asia. So we need to think of how to make it local, only where culture, legals, of course, most importantly, where our customer demands are different. And on the other side of the tech adoption, both with team members as well as in the stores, it is also widely different. So again, we had to then come out and formulate and think differently on the various tech solutions that's available, such as providing broadband, portable Wi-Fi, and so on.
Awesome. Yeah. So that theme of agility and adaptability, based on some of the market requirements is really coming through strong there. One of the things that we noticed was and we've been really amazed by it, but the first 2 weeks of launch, we were observing these participation rates, which were 90% and higher, like we've just talked about in the slides. I'm just, from your sense, what do you think were the main factors that contributed to such a successful launch? You guys had outstanding early engagement, keeping in mind there's around 22,000 alone in Hong Kong. How did you guys create and able to sustain that?
Yeah, well, I'll pick up on Hong Kong actually as an example, because what was happening while we were preparing implementation, we had to, to share with everyone listening to this, we couldn't tell Sudan the full story because we had a very, very secret project happening in the business, which ended up being what you can see behind Ben and I here, which is U Rewards. It's the first ever digital loyalty program in our part of the world. And that was launching. So we actually brought forward the launch of Axonify so we could use it to train and build capability in stores to be able to position U Rewards with our customers. So I think obviously eventually Sudan and the team found out as the content started to get loaded a little bit close to time. So, I suppose in a way that did really help us, because we had 2 weeks to train 22,000 people. And actually we were training some others offline with 10 modules on this new rewards program. And we did that through Axonify. So we got it all done, 100% completion. And I think that really, really drove it. I think thinking forward, what we've always got to keep in mind is getting back to that level's going to be challenging. I'm not sure we will do necessarily, but we've just got to maintain that momentum, because I think when you have those big business changes, it was a perfect platform to leverage another platform, which is Axonify, and that's really what we managed to do. So that hopefully explains the background to that.
Yeah, awesome. No, thank you for that, Martin. Ben, we've had quite a few conversations around the differences between Hong Kong and Singapore. Singapore had similar successes, however, not as fast as Hong Kong. Why do you think this is, and what would you do differently next time for Singapore?
Well, actually, I will put it this way. Hong Kong is doing exceptionally well. So because with the U program that we would need to drive to make sure everyone have to complete. Well, when we look at Singapore, actually it is business as usual for Singapore, because it is do not need have a massive ramp, to be honest, which is more manageable. So I would consider Singapore as a business as usual. So people take it as a normal learning platform, so they do it naturally. But when I look at the data, actually for the first day when people log in, there are already 3,000 team members log in and then start to use, which is on the first day is already 50% of the team members of using it, which is already quite encouraging. And then after 1 week, 2 weeks time, around 80% of the team members already complete the first modules. So I think even though business as usual, I think Singapore is also doing very well, but just comparing with Hong Kong, which is exceptionally well.
Yeah, thank you for that. And in speaking of exceptionally well participation and engagement, Malaysia. So you guys had 100% participation. Yeah, you should be really happy about that. You guys had 100% participation rate after day 2. I heard through the grapevine there was a few tactics that were deployed to kind of help increase this. I'd love to hear from you around what went right towards having the successful engagement. What did you do differently from the other markets?
Wow, woohoo, 100%, log in. Yeah, I must say that we were very fortunate because we had a lot of learning experiences from Hong Kong and Singapore before it got to us. So we were fortunate for all the learning experiences, and we took into, and then we look at it, and then we see how using from the Hong Kong and Singapore experience, how we mitigate some of the potential challenges that we may face. So, however, then these days, the key consideration is we must be mindful. Malaysia is a country, right? Relatively, Hong Kong and Singapore to us is like a city. So we need to then think of, okay, how are we going to do this differently so we can reach out and connect with every single person on the ground over every corner of Malaysia fast. So 3 things. The first one, Axonify champions. We invited familiar faces and voices from the ground that work very closely with us that can drive powerful engagement. And also our vision was very clear and was deliberate and shared. So it's not just an HR or an L&D vision. We did this, all the briefings together with the area managers and the Axonify champions. So what was this vision that we deliberately, clearly communicated it right from day one is we will achieve 100% login on day one. So everybody was on board. They were all so excited, and we tell them, here's how. So we provided tools, simple digital tools like trackers, dashboards that further create excitement and build the trust and the friendly competition and confidence for them to drive that adoption rate. So of course, lastly, not to forget to acknowledge, we do that, we acknowledge, we thank and recognize all the Axonify champions for the effort and the energy during all the check-in sessions that we did with them. So that's one, having early adopters from the ground. Secondly, of course, we received the same communications and materials, engagement materials we shared via our official business platform, that is emails and bulletins. But then hold on, we are huge, Malaysia, like I say, how do we then reach out to every corner all the way around down to the frontliners fast in a very short period of time? So then we tapped on the operations, WhatsApp, communication channels, and this worked really powerfully, and thankfully that we got huge and support from the area managers for us to tap on this channel. Lastly, this is our biggest win, I think, and Martin is fully convinced that it is the local engagement video that we produced that had made the difference. So people say pictures paint 1,000 words, but we say videos tell impactful stories. So we wanted to have a local video that captured all the local familiar faces again, and the energy and the voices and the excitement that are more relatable to the local people. And the little tips and tricks, Sudan, that you mentioned just now, we purposely made this video available only in Axonify. And once people logged in, the first thing they see is this video, and then they go, hey, I saw you in the video, you look good, have you seen it? So it kind of got people excited and curious, and then they have to log in to watch the video. So then naturally it just spreads like wildfire.
Nice. And we had really great feedback about that video as well. The whole team here loved it.
Thank you.
So I guess, like, in wrapping up, Martin, I'm interested to get your thoughts on how Axonify has impacted other parts of your business workflow and process. So things such like communication, delivering business project, and content creation.
Yeah, it's still early days, as you know. We're still in the midst, so we're still learning what to do. We still, I suppose, don't know what we don't know, but partnering with you guys in Axonify, we'll get there. I think where we've had some major impacts, one is on data. So I remember saying to Ben and the team in the middle of the Hong Kong go live, we need to do daily data reports and insight reports to the business to look at adoption and results. And everyone kind of looked a little bit horrified because it wasn't something we'd done before, but instantly we ended up using that and driving a different kind of engagement with the business, with deep insight being drawn from that. Prior to the go live of U Rewards, we were able to tell the U Rewards team which modules and which knowledge areas were becoming more, less comfortable with the teams in stores, so we could do extra work before go live to address any risks. So I think that data and insight is a major shift or an opportunity for us in the world that we're in to add value to the business. We're also changing the way we communicate. I'm hoping we'll never have a piece of corporate news through email ever again, because we want to move it to everything through Axonify. And it's, in a way, it's the first time we've ever been able to reach every single store team member one-to-one, or every distribution center team member. So we're very much looking forward to that changing it. We've changed the way we provide manuals to teams in stores. So our store change teams worked on the DILOs or YLOs, day in the life of, week in the life of, and those are now all embedded in the Discover channel and are being expanded out. So again, it's another change in the way that we communicate and the way we have tools for our teams to do their jobs. So lots to come. That's just a little bit, Sudan, and we're looking forward to trialing some more over the coming years.
Awesome. So, building on that future state of Axonify, just a couple of remarks from you in terms of how Axonify can support Dairy Farm in the future. I'm really interested to know how Axonify fits into your wider ecosystem and tech stack.
Yeah, I mean, we obviously have a core HR system which sort of provides all our sort of core data, or core employee processes, and so on. I mean, I think where we're looking to see where we can take Axonify, and we've had some really good conversations in our sort of business reviews, is can we make it the one place team members go for everything, and then we can drive them off to other places. I think one of the challenges we've often had with various technologies is sort of user experience and the simplicity to take people. If you look at the range of people we have in stores with their capability and technology, which Ai Lin mentioned earlier, the existence of technology, if we can find a simple way and do that through Axonify, which is in their pocket every minute of the day, it's instantly accessible, well then my dairy farm world comes from one place, and I think that's an interesting opportunity to explore. So that's probably the biggest area where it will fit.
Awesome. And then I guess to wrap up and just finish up, I'd love to kind of ask some reflection questions. If you could go at it all over again, what would you guys do differently?
Well, I suppose the question is, would we do it in a year of COVID? I don't think we can change that. But you know what? I suppose in a sense, when you're in these timings, you mentioned it earlier, the agility, the pragmatism, while not forgetting those human elements I mentioned earlier. I think, we wouldn't change that because we need it for the business and we need it now. I think always, could we have had more time? Should we have taken it out over a longer period of time? But again, I suppose the risk of that is, you end up being less agile because you've got more time, and actually sometimes that fast to implement, learn, and then change is actually a better approach rather than overthinking it. So I don't think, we're not hopefully coming across as arrogant, because we've learned a lot on the way and there's been definitely some bumps in the road. But in a way, I think we're quite happy with where it's gone. Our learnings, we wouldn't do things necessarily at a whole differently. There are smaller points around maybe the way we would have presented something, or the way we introduced something, or the way we cut the data so we can do better reports, those things. But that's the devil in the detail, which often you don't know until you go live. We've mentioned this before. We've broken ground in many of our markets with the technology we've implemented in here. We don't have the same infrastructure in many of our markets because they're emerging compared to, say, North America or Europe. So, probably the one biggest thing is if IT could have gone in first and done all the Wi-Fi infrastructure and everything else, and we weren't the first cloud or mobile technology in front of our teams, that would have made our lives a lot easier. But hey, it's nice for HR to break the ground. So.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And then I guess lastly, for any customers that are in the process of launching Axonify to their business, what are your top 3 do's and don'ts for a successful launch of Axonify?
Just to summarize everything that we've shared, the top 3 do's is definitely early engagement at every level possible and the continuous support. So everybody is on board right from the beginning. And also to invite people from the ground to be your early adopters so they can help you spread the energy fast and far. And lastly, not to forget to celebrate and recognize always. And don't, I think Martin mentioned this many times, never treat this as only as an HR agenda. Get everybody on board, and also don't overpromise, and never underestimate the importance of getting your data right.
Awesome, awesome. And any last words from you, Ben or Martin, around that?
When just an add-on to Eileen's point about the data, because previously we don't have any tool that can reflect all the reports, all the data to the team members. Now the store managers, the area managers starting to see, oh, I have my team in front of me. And if the data is not correct, then they can also point out right away. So that is the reason why data is so important. So this is something that we learn also.
Awesome. Great, awesome. Well, I guess we'll put a pin in it there. Thank you so much, guys, for your time and making yourself available for this fireside chat. It's been hugely valuable, and I think there's going to be a lot of customers and prospects that will get a lot of insight from what you've had to share. So thank you very much for sharing, and we'll be working together closely to get the rest of the markets launched.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone.